You know what keeps me up at night? It is not the mathematics. I can do the mathematics in my sleep. What keeps me up is a thought I cannot get rid of no matter how hard I try. And I want to share it with you because once you hear it, I do not think you will be able to get rid of it either. Right now, somewhere, there is another you. Not a copy, not a metaphor, not some poetic way of saying you could have been different. I mean another actual physical version of you, made of real atoms, breathing real air, living in a world just as solid and just as real as this one. And that version of you made one different choice at one critical moment in your life, and because of that single choice, they are living the life you always wanted. The job you did not take, the person you did not marry, the city you almost moved to, the risk you almost took but talked yourself out of at the last second. Somewhere you took it. Somewhere it worked. Somewhere you are waking up tomorrow morning in the life you lie awake at night wishing you had. Now I know how that sounds. It sounds like fantasy. It sounds like something from a cheap science fiction novel. But here is what disturbs me. The physics does not say it is impossible. The physics, if you follow it honestly, if you do not look away when it gets uncomfortable, the physics says it might be necessary. And I want to walk you through exactly why, step by step. No tricks, no hand waving, just the logic of quantum mechanics followed all the way to the end. And I warn you, the end is a strange place. But the journey there is one of the most beautiful and unsettling things I've ever encountered in all my years of doing physics. Let me start with something small, something you can hold in your hand, an electron, one single electron. An electron is about the simplest thing in the universe. It has a mass, it has a charge, it spins. That is about it. It is the most basic building block of matter. Every atom in your body contains electrons. There is nothing exotic about them. But here is what is strange about an electron. If you set up an experiment to find out where an electron is, you will find it in one specific place. It will be here, or it will be there. You will get a definite answer. But, and this is the part that has been bothering physicists for over 50 years, before you looked, the electron was not in one place. It was in a condition that we call a superposition, a mathematical state that includes every possible place it could be all at once. This is not a guess. This is not because we are ignorant or because our instruments are crude. We have tested this thousands and thousands of times with exquisite precision. The mathematics of quantum mechanics, the most accurately tested theory in the history of science, is absolutely clear on this point. Before you measure an electron, it does not have a definite position. It has all possible positions simultaneously. The mathematics gives you a function, a wave function, that tells you the probability of finding the electron at each location. But the electron itself is not at any particular location. It is, in some sense, that we do not fully understand at all of them. Now, if this only applied to electrons, it would be strange but manageable. We could say, well, the subatomic world is peculiar, everybody knows that, and we could go on with our lives. But it does not only apply to electrons, it applies to everything. The same mathematics that governs an electron governs a proton, governs an atom, governs a molecule. And molecules make up cells, and cells make up brains, and brains make up you. At no point in the chain from electron to human being does the mathematics change. There is no boundary, no threshold, no sign that says quantum mechanics stops here, normal reality begins. The equations are the same at every scale. So here is the question that has haunted me and has haunted every honest physicist since the 1920s. If an electron can be in two places at once before you look at it, and if you are made of electrons, and if the same rules apply at every scale, then why can you not be in two places at once? Or can you? This is where it gets uncomfortable, because there are really only two honest answers to that question, and both of them are deeply strange. The first answer, the one most physicists were taught and the one most people are comfortable with, is called the Copenhagen interpretation. It says that when you make a measurement, when you look at the electron, something happens. The wave function collapses. All those possibilities suddenly reduce to one actuality. The electron was in many places. You looked, and now it is in one place. Problem solved. But here is what has always bothered me about that answer. What counts as a measurement? What is special about looking? The mathematics does not contain the word measurement anywhere. There is no collapse in the equations. The equations just describe smooth, continuous evolution of the wave function. The collapse is something we add by hand because the results seem to demand it. It is not derived from the theory. It is pasted on top. And that is not good physics. Good physics does not require you to add special rules that are not in the mathematics. Good physics derives the rules from the mathematics. The mathematics should tell you what happens. You should not have to tell the mathematics what to do. So here comes the second answer. And this one, I have to tell you, is far more disturbing. But it has one enormous advantage over the first. It does not require you to add anything to the mathematics. You just take the equations of quantum mechanics exactly as they are, change nothing, add nothing, and follow them wherever they lead. A physicist named Hugh Everett did exactly that in 1957. He was a graduate student at Princeton, young, brilliant, maybe a little reckless in the way that only young physicists can afford to be. And he asked a simple question that nobody had dared to take seriously. What if the wave function never collapses? What if all those possibilities are not just mathematical bookkeeping? What if they are all real? Think about what that means. Go back to the electron. Before you measure it, it is in a superposition of being here and being there. The Copenhagen interpretation says you measure it, the wave function collapses, and the electron is here. End of story. Everett says no. You measure it and something does happen, but it is not collapse. Instead, you, the person doing the measuring, you enter a superposition. There is now a version of you that saw the electron here, and there is another version of you that saw the electron there. Both versions are equally real. Both versions are certain they got the only answer. Neither version is aware of the other. Let me say that again because I want you to feel the full weight of it. You did not choose one outcome. The universe did not pick one and throw the other away. Both happened. Both are happening right now. Both versions of you walked away from that experiment fully convinced that only one thing occurred. And both of them are wrong about that. Now you might say, that is just electrons. Who cares about electrons? Fine. Let me bring it closer to home. Let me bring it all the way home. Every decision you have ever made involved quantum events in your brain. Every thought you have ever had was the product of neurons firing, and neurons fire because of electrochemical signals. And electrochemical signals depend on the movement of ions through channels in cell membranes, and those ion channels are so small, just a few atoms across, that quantum effects are not negligible. They are not a footnote. They are part of the machinery. When you stood at a crossroads in your life, when you had to choose between this path and that one, the processes in your brain that led to your decision involved quantum events that, according to the mathematics, went both ways. You chose left. But the equations say that a version of you chose right, not metaphorically, not in some abstract mathematical sense. In the same way that you are real, sitting wherever you are sitting right now, that other version is real too. Sitting somewhere else, living the consequences of the other choice. This is what physicists call the many worlds interpretation. And I want to be honest with you about something. It sounds insane. It sounded insane to me the first time I heard it. A universe that splits every time a quantum event occurs. Billions upon billions of parallel realities multiplying every fraction of a second. It is outrageous. It is extravagant. It is the most absurd sounding idea in the history of science. But here is the thing that keeps me from dismissing it. The mathematics works. Not approximately, not with adjustments. The many worlds interpretation uses exactly the same equations as standard quantum mechanics. It does not add anything. It does not modify anything. It just refuses to ignore what the equations are saying. And what the equations are saying is that all outcomes occur. Now let me take you somewhere specific. Let me take you to the moment that matters most to you. Think of the biggest decision you ever made, the one you think about late at night when you cannot sleep, the one where you wonder what would have happened if you had chosen differently. Maybe it was a person, maybe it was a place, maybe it was a single sentence you said or did not say at exactly the wrong moment. You know the one I mean. Everyone has one. According to the mathematics of quantum mechanics taken at face value, you did choose differently. There is a branch of reality, just as solid and just as physical as this one, where you made the other choice. And in that branch, someone with your face, your memories up to that moment, your personality, your voice, your fears and hopes, that someone went the other way. And their life unfolded differently. Maybe it unfolded better. Maybe they got the thing you wanted. Maybe they are living right now in the house you imagined with the person you lost, doing the work you were always meant to do. Or maybe it went worse. Maybe the road you did not take led somewhere terrible. Maybe the you who chose differently is sitting somewhere right now, late at night, wondering what would have happened if they had chosen what you chose. You will never know. That is the cruelest part. The branches do not communicate. There is no window, no doorway, no signal that passes between them. Once the split occurs, it is total and it is permanent. You cannot peek into the other branch. You cannot send a message. You cannot even confirm that it exists except through the mathematics. And this is where I want to be very careful, because I do not want to sell you something I cannot deliver. I do not want to tell you the multiverse is definitely real. I do not know that. Nobody knows that. What I can tell you is that the most successful theory in the history of physics, quantum mechanics, a theory that has been tested to 11 decimal places of accuracy, a theory that makes the transistors in your radio work and the lasers in your laboratory function, that theory, read plainly without additions or modifications, describes a reality in which every quantum possibility is realized. That is not nothing. That is not speculation from the fringes. That is what the equations say. You can choose to add something to the equations to make the other possibilities go away. Most physicists do, but you should know that when they do that, they are adding something that is not in the theory. They are making a choice based on comfort, not on mathematics. So what does this mean for you? That is the question, is it not? Not what does the mathematics say, but what does it mean for a human being trying to live a life? Let me tell you what I think. And I want to be clear, this is not physics anymore. This is a man who has spent his life thinking about the nature of reality, telling you what he has concluded. Take it for whatever it is worth. If the many worlds interpretation is correct, and I'm not saying it is, but if it is, then there is a version of you who made every choice you did not make. There is a version of you who took the risk. There is a version who stayed. There is a version who left. There is a version who said yes, and a version who said no, and a version who said nothing at all and walked away. Some of those versions are happier than you. That is certain. In an infinity of branches, some of them found the thing you are looking for. Some of them woke up this morning in the life you dream about when you are not being careful with your thoughts. That is real. If the physics is right, that is actually happening somewhere in the structure of reality. But here is the other side. Some of those versions are miserable. Some of them made the choice you almost made and discovered it was a catastrophe. Some of them are sitting right now in the wreckage of a decision they thought would save them. Some of them are wishing desperately that they had done what you did, that they had chosen what you chose, that they were you. You do not get to know which version you are. That is the nature of the situation. You are in one branch, living one life, and you have no access to the others. You cannot compare. You cannot check. You cannot know if the grass is greener because you cannot see the grass. And this, I think, is where the physics actually teaches you something about how to live. Because here is what I have realized after all these years of thinking about this. The existence of other branches, if they exist, does not diminish this one. It does not make your choices meaningless. It does not make your life arbitrary. Think about it this way. If there is another version of you who married the person you let go, does that change how you feel about the person you are with now? If there is another version of you who became the thing you always wanted to become, does that erase what you have actually accomplished? Does the existence of a happier you somewhere else make your own happiness less real? I do not think it does. I think your life is yours. This branch is yours. The choices you made, whatever they were, led to this moment, this breath, this thought. And this moment is not diminished by the existence of other moments you cannot see. But here is what I think the physics does give you. And it is not nothing. It gives you a strange kind of peace about the roads not taken. Because if every road is taken somewhere, then you are not haunted by the ghost of what might have been. The what might have been is real. It is happening. You do not have to carry it around as an unlived possibility. You can let it go. Some other version of you is living it, and you are living this. Now, I know some people find that disturbing. They want to be the only version. They want their choices to be final, absolute, the only thing that happened. And I understand that. There is something terrifying about the idea that you are not unique, that there are countless versions of you making countless choices, and you are just one thread in an infinite tapestry. But I have to tell you, when I sit with it long enough, I find it comforting. I find it liberating, because it means nothing is wasted. Every possibility is explored. Every path is taken. The universe, if the mathematics is to be believed, is thorough. It does not leave things undone. It does not skip options. It does everything. And you, this version of you, listening to me right now, you are one expression of that thoroughness. You are one way the universe is finding out what happens when you make the choices you made. And that is not a small thing. That is not a diminished thing. That is exactly as real and exactly as important as any other version. I want to leave you with one thought, one image to carry with you. Imagine all the versions of you, every single one, arranged somehow in a vast space, billions of them, trillions, more than you can count, every version who made every choice, and all of them, every single one, is looking around at the others and wondering the same thing. Did I make the right choice? Is one of those other versions happier than me? Did I miss my chance? And here is what I want you to see. Every single one of them is asking that question. Even the ones you think have it figured out. Even the ones who got the job and the person and the house and the life. They are looking at other versions of themselves and wondering if they chose wrong. Because no matter which branch you are in, you can always imagine one that is better. That is the human condition. It is not a flaw. It is not a mistake. It is how we are built. We imagine alternatives. We wonder about roads not taken. We lie awake at night and think about what might have been. And physics, strange as it sounds, says those alternatives might be just as real as we are. But here is the thing. You cannot live in those alternatives. You can only live here, in this branch, in this body, in this single, unrepeatable version of your life. And the question is not whether there is a better version of you somewhere else. The question is what you are going to do with the version you are. That is not physics. That is just life. But sometimes it takes physics to see it clearly. There is a version of you right now living the life you always wanted, and there is also this version, the one who is here, the one who is listening, the one who gets to decide what happens next. What are you going to do?